Some people in this world are born rich, while others live in poverty for half their lives. Is this the arrangement of fate? Is there a power to change our destined fate? Buddha once said, "All sentient beings possess the wisdom and virtues of the Tathagata. All phenomena in the world are not fixed, and destiny is also in constant change. Everyone has the potential to transcend current difficulties, achieve inner awakening and tranquility, and thus change their own destiny." And the story of Buddha and the beggar. It is this truth that is revealed to us humans. In the ancient Indian city of Rajgir, there lived a ragged beggar with a weathered old face who was kneeling humbly in front of the wise Buddha. He clasped his hands together and said in a hoarse voice, "Master, I have suffered from poverty and hardship in my life and have never felt happiness. I have tried my best, but they could never truly escape the harsh fate of poverty. Am I destined to be poor all my life? Is it possible that my fate cannot be changed?" The Buddha looked at him quietly, his eyes gentle and deep. After a moment's silence, the Buddha whispered, "If you want to know the answer, you can visit 3 people. Their experiences may provide you with some inspiration. Help you find the exit of your destiny." After hearing the Buddha's words, the beggar felt a glimmer of hope in his heart. He had never heard the Buddha respond in this way, and his heart was filled with confusion, but also with a glimmer of hope. Instead of telling him directly how to change his destiny, the Buddha asked him to meet 3 people who might be able to reveal the true meaning of destiny to him. Although the beggar was full of doubts, but I still decided to follow the Buddha's instructions and embark on the journey to find the answer. After many days of trekking, the beggar finally arrived at a magnificent mansion. The gate was closed, and there were several tall and mighty guards guarding in front of it. Melodious sounds of stringed instruments could be heard from the courtyard, and the air was filled with the scent of fragrant wood. The beggar knew that there was a rich man living here. It was rumored that the rich man was once poor when he was young, but with hard work, he eventually became a wealthy businessman. Despite possessing an immense fortune, the beggar felt a bit uneasy, yet he still gathered his courage to bravely knock on the large door. The butler assessed him from head to toe. He frowned and asked who you seek. "See the master," the beggar whispered. After a brief moment of waiting, a middle-aged man finally emerged. He was dressed in gorgeous clothes, and his face was calm and majestic after years of hard work. His eyes are deep and expressive, but not cold. Although the beggar's clothes were dirty, the woman did not show any contempt. Instead, she nodded slightly and motioned him to sit down. "Who are you? Why did you come to me?" the woman asked gently. The beggar took out the Buddha's entrustment from his arms and said, "Buddha asked me to come to you, to know how to change my destiny." The woman paused before speaking. He smiled slightly, and there seemed to be some memories in his eyes. "When you see my considerable wealth, you might think I was born into riches. But do you truly know? I grew up in a much poorer situation than you did. At that time, I couldn't even have a full meal. My family was extremely poor, and even the most basic survival was a problem. I barely managed to make ends meet by doing various odd jobs every single day, yet I never complain about life." The beggar listened attentively, feeling shocked and confused. He had never imagined that this rich man was once a poor person. So he continued to ask, pondering the complexity of life. But not everyone in the world can achieve wealth through hard work alone. Why is it that some people strive tirelessly, yet still cannot escape the harsh reality of their impoverished circumstances? The rich man smiled. While hard work is not the sole ingredient for achieving success, without it, you won't even have a chance to succeed. Destiny is like a seed. The more effort you put into it, the more likely it is to sprout. The diligent process of hard work is akin to sowing seeds for a fruitful future. Although we cannot predict the specific results, seeds sown without hard work will never bear any fruit. The beggar stayed quiet. He slowly lowered his head and fell into deep, intense thought. He learned an important truth from the words of the rich. That is, hard work itself is the first step to changing one's destiny. Although he still had many questions in his mind, but he understood that he could not change the existing status quo without putting in a lot of hard work. After saying goodbye to the rich man, the beggar continued on his way. But the doubts in his heart had not completely dissipated. He knows that hard work is important, but there are still many unanswered questions. After a long and exhausting journey, the weary beggar finally arrived at an ancient weathered school. There are no particularly magnificent buildings here. There was no intoxicating music playing, just a serene and quiet atmosphere around. In the yard, there was a wise man with white hair and beard, who was reading an ancient book attentively. The wise man has an ordinary appearance, yet there is an undeniable, profound wisdom in his eyes. The beggar walked forward and asked respectfully, Buddha asked me to come to you to know how to change my destiny. The wise man closes the book. Gently I asked, have you ever come across such a person? Working hard but living in poverty all his life, being smart and resourceful but still achieving nothing. The beggar nodded his head knowingly. Clearly he was familiar with these people. He had seen some people who worked hard but still failed to change their destiny. They are exceptionally hardworking and incredibly smart, yet life remains quite challenging. The wise man often sighs softly. But have you ever noticed certain individuals who keenly observe opportunities and use their wisdom to ultimately lead a significantly better life? The key to shaping our destiny often lies in how wisely we choose to direct our efforts and actions. The beggar paused to think. Then he asked, does that mean that only true wisdom and insight can ultimately determine a person's destiny in life? The wise man smiled knowingly. Wisdom is indeed important, but it requires sufficient effort and unwavering persistence. Wisdom also has difficulty in playing its role. Wisdom serves as a guiding light for our efforts, helping us identify valuable opportunities and avoid unnecessary detours. Efforts without wisdom will be like a blind man groping in the dark and will never find the right direction. The beggar suddenly realized what the wise man truly meant. It was far from sufficient to rely solely on hard work alone for success. Only by combining wisdom can we find a breakthrough in complex life. He asked once more, why do some highly knowledgeable individuals continue to live in poverty throughout their entire lives? A gleam of wisdom flashed in the wise man's eyes. Wisdom does not only refer to knowledge in books, it also lies in self-knowledge, insight into the world, and how to seize opportunities in life. Those who possess knowledge and expertise may still find themselves in difficult situations if they lack self-awareness and the ability to seize valuable opportunities. The beggar fell into deep thought, and he began to realize that the combination of wisdom and hard work is the key to changing one's destiny. Effort without wisdom is like a blind man groping, while wisdom without effort is a castle in the air, unable to take root in reality. Bidding farewell to the wise man, the beggar left with a new understanding. I continued on my journey, but there was still a deeper question in my mind. Can the combination of hard work and wisdom truly change my destiny? If only fate wasn't completely in our own hands. So how exactly do we effectively deal with these uncontrollable external factors in our lives? The weary beggar continued on his long journey, his heart heavy with doubts and confusion, even though he had gained valuable insights from the wealthy and wise man he had encountered. But these teachings still could not answer his deepest confusion. Hard work and wisdom are important, but why do some people fail to escape the fate of poverty despite their best efforts? In whose hands does our collective destiny lie? Is there a profound power that can transcend all human efforts and wisdom, ultimately capable of changing a person's life? He crossed the winding mountain road, crossed the clear stream, and finally arrived at the last stop. A serene Zen temple, characterized by its simple and unadorned appearance, is located far from the noisy hustle and bustle of the outside world, creating an atmosphere as if entering an entirely different, peaceful realm. The bamboo shadows are swaying in the yard, the water in the pond is as calm as a mirror. A few goldfish are swimming leisurely, and the surrounding scenery gives people a deep sense of tranquility and peace. The beggar's hurried steps had finally slowed down here. He felt a profound peace he had never experienced before, as if everything was perfectly settled at this very moment. There was an elderly monk sitting in the Zen temple. His hair and beard were already gray, his clothes were neat and tidy, and his face was peaceful. While I may lack the vast wealth of the rich or the deep knowledge of the wise individuals, but from his serene and calm eyes, the beggar felt an overwhelming and unspeakable power. The monk did not appear to be particularly intelligent or wealthy in any noticeable way. He seemed even a little ordinary, but when the beggar saw his eyes, he felt a sense of peace he had never felt before. The beggar walked forward, bowed his head respectfully and said, "Respected old man, Buddha kindly asked me to come to you to discover how I can change my destiny for the better." The monk slowly raised his head with gentle grace, his deep wisdom-filled eyes seeming to see through everything around him. He did not answer immediately, but instead looked gently into the distance, as if he were waiting for the perfect opportunity to speak. The air around him seemed to grow even quieter and more still because of his deep silence. After a thoughtful pause, the monk softly whispered that true destiny is not merely defined by poverty or wealth, nor is it solely determined by diligence or wisdom. Rather, destiny is fundamentally a state of mind and perception. Do you realize how your thoughts and mindset shape your destiny? The beggar was utterly confused. He had never before heard such a peculiar statement. From beginning to end, he has been focusing on external efforts and wisdom. However, this particular monk was discussing profound inner changes and appeared to possess a completely distinct perspective in contrast to the other two individuals. The beggar asked in a low voice, "How can the heart be related to destiny?" The monk smiled softly. "Your eyes reflect a profound understanding that you have been focused on pursuing external changes while neglecting necessary internal transformations. Destiny is not just external, it is also influenced by your inner self. If you constantly think about poverty each and every day and feel as though you are being cruelly teased by fate, then no matter how hard you strive or how wisely you apply your intellect, your fate is unlikely to change significantly." The beggar felt as if he had been struck by lightning. A deep sense of realization suddenly emerged in my heart. He once believed that poverty and hardship were inevitable arrangements of fate, and that his own fate had already been determined. However, the monk's wise words made him come to the profound realization that destiny is not solely a product of one's external environment, but is also deeply intertwined with one's inner world and mindset. The monk continued, "You often feel deep down that you don't truly deserve more, constantly surrounded by poverty and the glaring unfairness of fate. You may not fully understand that it is these persistent negative thoughts that are truly limiting your destiny. In fact, the change of destiny is not a change in the outside world, but a change in the heart." The beggar remained silent for a long while after that. In the past, he had indeed never genuinely taken the time to examine his own heart. He always felt that he was unworthy of happiness and prosperity. He felt that all his sufferings were a punishment from fate. He resented his poverty and felt helpless because of his predicament. As the monk mentioned, his state of mind has consistently stayed entrenched in resistance and ongoing complaints about his poverty. He didn't even realize that his current state of mind was invisibly influencing the overall direction of his destiny and future. The monk looked at him, as if he could see through his contemplation and see his inner struggle. "You have always believed that the key to changing your destiny lies in external forces, such as hard work and wisdom. However, in reality, the true change arises from a deep inner awakening. You have to learn to adjust your mindset. Accept the status quo instead of complaining and resisting. When you can accept your own predicament from the bottom of your heart and face the challenges of life calmly, you will find that the world around you begins to change subtly." The beggar listened attentively, and a deep understanding gradually emerged in his eyes. In the past, he had never thought that there was such a profound connection between the transformation of his heart and the change of his destiny, and he had never realized it. The key to truly changing your destiny lies not only in working diligently and responding intelligently, but even more importantly, in transforming your inner attitude. Only when he can accept himself from the bottom of his heart, only by letting go of his resentment towards poverty and injustice, can he gain true freedom and peace of mind. The monk continued, "The three characters you met on this trip symbolize labor, wisdom, and state of mind respectively. You have encountered the wealthy man, who taught you the value of hard work. You have seen the scholar, and he taught you wisdom. And I will teach you valuable techniques on how to effectively change your state of mind. You must truly understand that your destiny is not a static concept. It will transform as your inner state evolves and changes. When you learn to find peace within your heart, the true strength and real power will radiate from deep within you." The beggar suddenly grasped the profound and deep meaning conveyed by the Buddha's insightful teachings. The Buddha kindly asked him to seek out 3 individuals, not to instruct him on how to amass wealth. Instead, their experiences guide him to think deeply about how hard work, wisdom, and state of mind work together to ultimately achieve a change in destiny. He began to realize that hard work and wisdom are important. But if one is not calm in heart and does not accept the status quo, all the efforts and wisdom may become rootless trees, unable to grow real fruit. He kowtowed deeply. "Respected old man, thank you sincerely for your invaluable teachings. I finally understand the true answer." The monk smiled slightly, his eyes full of compassion. "You have gained the most precious treasure, peace of mind and awakening. Real change is not just about external conditions, but also about inner transformation. Farewell to the monk." The beggar began his journey back to the city. Although he was still that same poor beggar, significant and profound changes had taken place deep within his heart. He no longer dwelled on his dissatisfaction with poverty and fate. No longer struggling for mere survival, he learned to discover a profound peace within his heart, and to appreciate the inner abundance present in every cherished moment of life. When he returned to Rajagriha, he was no longer the beggar who once struggled daily for a meager living. His steps became calm, and his eyes revealed a profound sense of calmness and wisdom. Even though he continued to plead, but he no longer felt inferior or confused about his place in the world. Instead, he embraced everything in life with a peaceful heart. Gradually, he discovered that the people and things around him had also undergone subtle changes, and he was no longer the weak man abandoned by fate, but a person who possesses the unique power to truly change destiny. As time passed slowly, and a few years later, the once ragged beggar who used to roam the bustling streets of Rajgir was sadly no longer there. But he was a remarkably serene and truly peaceful old man. Although he still lived a modest and simple life, he no longer worried about the pangs of hunger, because he already possessed something far more precious than gold and silver. With inner abundance and peace, he finally understood the Buddha's teachings. If you want to know the answer, you can visit 3 people. These 3 people taught him 3 crucial truths: hard work, wisdom, and state of mind respectively. The combination of these 3 is the real key to changing your destiny. From then on, the beggar understood deeply. Destiny arises from heartfelt choices, not external circumstances. When he changed his state of mind, his destiny changed along with his inner transformation, and he eventually found his own peace and abundance. If you like Buddhist content, remember to follow and subscribe so as not to miss every profound sharing and inspiration. Let us explore the wisdom of Buddhism together.